The studio lights were so bright they almost blurred her vision, but she swore she could still feel the cold gust of tension sweeping across the room. In that split second, just before the laughter stopped, before the cameras cut, before the audience shifted uneasily in their seats, she sensed something was wrong. She didn't know it yet, but this moment, this stray turn of words, would be the last time she ever stood on that stage. The Tonight Show had made dreams, careers, legends, and it had also quietly erased a few. But how could one woman, rising fast and burning bright, disappear so completely after only a single misstep? And why did no one talk about it? Years later, friends say she still replays that night in her mind like a film reel that refuses to burn out. She tries to remember the smell of the curtains, the way the band's opening notes hummed through the floor, the way she steadied her breathing as the iconic desk came into view. She was supposed to be unstoppable. She was supposed to be the next big thing. So what happened behind the scenes that changed everything? Long before that night, she had grown up in a cramped apartment above a neighborhood grocery store, where she learned early on that laughter could diffuse arguments faster than logic ever could. Her mother worked nights, her father picked up odd jobs, and she filled the quiet gaps by performing in the living room, copying lines from the sitcom reruns that flickered across the old TV. It wasn't attention she craved. It was connection. It was proof that even if the world felt heavy, moments of joy could still lift people up. When she first stepped into a small comedy club at 19, that same feeling washed over her. The crowd was tiny, the stage was uneven, and the microphone crackled every few minutes. But the moment her first joke landed, she felt an electric snap inside, her approval, validation, possibility. Within 2 years, she was headlining mid-size clubs. Within 5, her name was circulating among producers and bookers with increasing interest. She wasn't the loudest or the most outrageous comic, but she had something rare, a warmth beneath her sharpness, a vulnerability behind the punchlines. Viewers didn't just laugh at her stories, they believed them. So when her agent called one morning with the biggest news of her career, she froze in place, toothbrush still dangling from her mouth. The Tonight Show wanted her, not next month, not later in the year. They wanted her next week. It was the kind of opportunity comics dreamed about for decades. She felt the room tilt around her. She knew what this meant. A good set could change your life. A great one could rewrite it. The days leading up to her appearance blurred into a hectic mix of rehearsals, rewrites, pacing the apartment floor, and practicing in front of anyone who would listen. Still, she couldn't escape the creeping pressure that gnawed at her every time she imagined the cameras rolling. Was she ready? Was anyone ever ready? On the day of the taping, she arrived at the studio early, hours before she was needed. She walked slowly through the backstage hallways, tracing her fingers along the framed posters of previous guest icons, legends, people whose names were etched permanently into cultural memory. She wondered if hers would ever hang beside them. She wondered if she would belong in the green room. She tried to calm herself by watching the monitor as the show taped its earlier segments. The rhythmic applause, the polished banter, the well-oiled machinery of it all reassured her. She'd watched this show her entire life. She knew its tone, its tempo, its heartbeat. She told herself she could match it. But when a producer finally came in to give her the 10-minute warning, something inside her shifted. The air felt strangely heavy. The producer's smile seemed strained. A few crew members outside whispered quietly, stopping abruptly when she walked by. Was she imagining it? Was it just nerves playing tricks? Or was something deeper at play, an unspoken tension she hadn't been warned about? As the stage manager guided her toward the wings, she heard the applause from the previous segment fade. The band picked up a familiar tune, and then, for the first time, she saw him, the host, just feet away, adjusting his tie, flipping through a blue card with her name written on it. He looked up briefly, offering a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Perhaps he was tired, perhaps he was distracted, or perhaps, she would later wonder, he already sensed the storm brewing. Her introduction was warm, enthusiastic, exactly what she'd hoped for. She stepped into the spotlight, heart pounding, and delivered her opening line. The audience laughed. A second line, another laugh. A third, stronger laughter, and for a few minutes, it felt like everything she'd ever worked for was finally aligning. But then she made a split-second decision, a joke she hadn't planned to tell. One she had scribbled months ago and abandoned because it felt too raw, too risky, too personal. It wasn't offensive, but it brushed up against a topic the host was notoriously sensitive about, a topic people around him avoided mentioning. She didn't know that. How could she have known? The moment the words left her mouth, time seemed to freeze. The audience chuckled uncertainly, looking to the host for cues. The host's expression didn't break, but something in his posture changed to stiffening, a tightening. She felt it immediately. The room felt colder. The rhythm of her set faltered. She tried to recover, shifting into safer material, but the energy had shifted. She could sense whispers rippling through the front rows, sense the bandleader exchanging a look with one of the producers. When her segment ended, the applause was polite but muted. She walked to the host's desk for the short interviews, something she had looked forward to more than the stand-up itself, but the host seemed distant, almost mechanical with his questions. She answered them as gracefully as she could, but her heart was already sinking. When the cameras finally stopped rolling, the host gave her a firm handshake and a quick smile before turning away to speak with his staff. She waited a moment, expecting anyone to tell her she'd done well. But the hallway outside the stage felt unnervingly quiet. A producer finally approached her, but instead of the expected congratulations, she received a careful, measured, "Thank you for coming." Nothing more. In the taxi that night, she scrolled through social media, searching anxiously for reactions. The comments were mixed, some praising her, others confused about her strange shift in tone. Halfway through, she felt numb. She replayed the moment of the improvised joke, trying to pinpoint what, exactly, had gone wrong. Was it her timing? Her delivery? Or had she crossed an invisible line she didn't know existed? The next morning, her agent called. His voice was unusually flat. He told her the show wouldn't be inviting her back. Not now, not ever. No explanation, no notes, no second chances, just a closed door. She pressed him for details. Had she offended someone? Had there been complaints? Was there something she could clarify or apologize for? But he had nothing concrete to offer, just the same vague, impenetrable message. The show had decided to move in another direction. For weeks, she felt suspended between disbelief and shame. She had heard stories, whispered among comedians, about how quickly the industry could close ranks. But she never imagined she would be one of those stories. She wondered whether people were talking about her behind closed doors. She wondered whether other shows would avoid booking her now. She wondered whether everything she had built could evaporate because of one misunderstood moment. Yet, strangely, she also felt a quiet determination growing beneath the disappointment. If she couldn't return to the stage that had once been her dream, she would build her own. Small clubs welcomed her back, audiences rallied around her, and she began weaving the story of that night into her new material, not as a scandal, not as a tragedy, but as a lesson in resilience. She never revealed the details, never named names, never pointed fingers. Instead, she posed questions that lingered with listeners long after they left the venue. How much power should one moment hold over a person's entire future? Who gets to decide when a performer's voice is no longer welcome? And how many careers have been quietly stifled, not because of malice, but because of misunderstandings no one ever bothered to unravel? Her career didn't end. It changed, it evolved. She found audiences in more intimate settings, people who appreciated her honesty, her depth, her willingness to discuss the uncomfortable spaces between triumph and failure. She discovered that silence, too, could be a kind of teacher. Years passed before she could talk about that night without feeling her throat tighten. She never spoke bitterly. In interviews, she referred to it only as a moment that taught me more than success ever could. She didn't need revenge or vindication. What she wanted, what she had always wanted, was connection. And somewhere along the way, she realized that losing one stage had opened another. She began mentoring younger comedians, teaching them how to navigate an industry that could be both generous and unforgiving. She taught them how to find strength in vulnerability, how to trust silence, how to keep going even when doors closed unexpectedly. But one question still lingers among fans, whispered in online forums, debated in late-night conversations. What exactly happened on that stage? What unspoken rule did she break? What invisible boundary did she cross? Could the fallout have been avoided? Or was it inevitable in a world where one unscripted moment can overshadow years of hard work? No clip of the joke exists. The show never